Hey there, Chris from the Old Man Cycling Show again with our next episode. Today, I'm excited. I finally got these tires that I've been waiting for. I ordered them in December. The place I originally ordered them from still had them back ordered. So I went back online, found another place, ordered them, and they came within 2 days. So I'm excited to have them. They are Vittoria Graphene 2.0 Corsa Control Tubeless Ready Tires, or TLR. I wanted to get these tires for a couple reasons, but before we get into that, I just ask, again, please click on that subscribe button, click on the bell notification so you're informed when I post new content, new videos. And I'll tell you a little bit about why I wanted to get these tires in particular. So these tires are highly recommended for wet weather riding, as well as dirtier roads. They have an extra layer of puncture protection in them. There have been some criticisms about the sidewalls are easy to cut. They're very loose, not loose. I guess the TPI is a 320 TPI on the sidewalls, so they say they can cut easily. Not really that concerned about cutting. I haven't really cut many tires other than if you watch my adventure in Key West, I sliced through a tire because I ran over metal, but it really cut from the bottom, not from the side. I really wanted to get these to put onto these Dura-Ace C24 wheels, which if you saw me getting my bike ready for my Key West trip, these are wheels I want to run with. They have an aluminum brake surface, so I want to run these wheels in bad weather up here in Pennsylvania during the late winter, early spring. Roads tend to be dirtier, wetter, more grit on them. So I want to have the braking power of an aluminum rim, as well as the ability to have a nice, stronger tire. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about getting these tires ready for tubeless installation. If you notice this rim, this is a Dura-Ace C24. It's a hybrid rim. It's got carbon fiber spoke area, and then it's got aluminum braking surface. If you look inside, hopefully you can see that, it's totally sealed. The only hole in the rim is where let me find it, is where the valve comes through, which is, let's see, right there. That's the only hole in the rim. So if you go online and you go to Shimano's website about these tires, they do not want you to use rim tape with these tires for tubeless tires. They just want you to put the tire on here, seal it up, put the sealant in there, and let the tire ride on this rim. So I don't have to put sealant tape around this. Now, a couple other things, well, one other thing in particular that I read about these tires is you can see these tires come packaged flat boxed. And by that, what I mean is when you take it out of the box, it is a flat tire. It has no round shape to it. So this is the tire that comes packaged in the box. You can see it's very flat. This is a tire that I've taken out and tried to put into a round shape. Again, it's very, very flat. So all the recommendations that I've read online have said to get the best sealant on them and get the best, capture to the rim. They highly, highly, highly recommend you mount this tire on your wheel first with a tube, let it sit for a day to get that round form to it, take the tube out, and then go back in and put the sealant in. The other thing, when we get to the sealant part, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the tire on the rim with the tube, pump it up, let it sit overnight. Tomorrow I'll take the tube out, reseat the tire, and pump it up. The other thing that they say is that these tires, even though it's a road rim, they say it's very difficult to seat these tires tubeless with just a hand pump, no matter how hard you pump. So I do have one of these express canisters. I can pump the canister up to 160 psi, take the valve stem out, and just let it rip and let all the pressure get in at once. So I'm going to try with a hand pump first. But then if that doesn't work, I'm going to use my canister and get that up to 160 psi and give that a shot and see if it seals. So all I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to take this tire, put my old tube back on, mount both the front and rear tire, let it sit overnight. And it sounds like a lot of work, but I want to make sure these seat right. I want to make sure they have the right shape to them, and I'm really excited to try them. Today's Tuesday. Thursday's looking like a really good weather day around here, and if I get an opportunity to go out in the afternoon, I'll take these out on the road and give my initial impressions of my thoughts on how they roll. They are heavier than like a Continental GP 5000 tubeless, but that is because they do have an extra puncture protection layer. It's four different materials in this in this tread part. One of it is an extra puncture resistance, and you can see they do have a little bit of a tread on there. Hopefully you can see that. There is a little bit of a tread for that grippiness in wet weather. It's supposed to be a very, very, very good tire in any kind of wet weather. So the combination of puncture resistance, and you can actually feel it even on the inside. You can feel it's thicker in here. That combination of good wet weather riding, although I don't ride in the rain, but the roads are always wet, you know, as we're getting the snow melting and everything else. And that puncture resistance, because there's always all this extra stuff early in the season on the sides of the roads, really attracted me to wanting to use this tire. So we'll give that a shot. Like I said, right now all I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on the rims, I'm going to pump them up, I'm going to let them sit overnight, and then tomorrow I'll show you how I set them up tubeless, you know, put the valve in, get them seated onto the rim itself, and then put the sealant in. So I just wanted to start this video off. I'm excited to try these. I'm glad they finally arrived, and I'll give you my first impressions of them once I have them on. But you know, right now, like I said, I'm just going to get the shape to them and then let them sit here, and we'll continue this once I'm ready to make them tubeless. So I have to say, I am really glad I decided to mount this tire with a tube first. That was one of the hardest tire installs I've done with a tube ever. The flat tire, being the way it's shipped and everything, makes it very, very difficult to get the rim and the tube seated properly into the channel in the wheel. So this is the front. I got this on. It literally took me a good 15 to 20 minutes to get this on there. So I'm glad I did it. I still have not found the directional rotation of this, which doesn't matter right now because I'm not going to ride them like this. I got to figure out what the right direction rotation is for these tires on the wheel. But yeah, after that experience, I would highly recommend, if you're going to use these tires, that either you have a lot of patience and don't have a live mic around you when you are putting them on, because there will be choice words coming out, or you take this approach and you mount them, put a tube in them, let them sit for a day to get some shape. Now that it's sitting in here and I'm going to let it sit, I have all the confidence in the world that come tomorrow when I take the tube out and I put the stem in and I mount them up tubeless, I won't have the type of issue that I just had. So now I'm going to go play with the rear wheel, get that set up, and let them sit here. And then, like I said, tomorrow when I'm ready to set these up tubeless, I'll continue, and then we'll get a review of them later in this week. Alright, so I've had the tires sitting on the rims for about 24 hours. And I told you yesterday, I wanted to try to figure out the rotational direction of the tires, make sure they were on right. This is the Vittoria paper that came with them, and right here under the third bullet point, I don't know if you can see that, but it says, after confirming the rotation direction of the wheel, place the first bead with the correct tire orientation inside the bead of the rim. Right? So, I've had other tires before that have a rotation direction that points the way that, the wheel should go. There is none on this tire. There's none I can find. I even looked at it with a magnifying glass. Nothing I can find. I Googled last night. Couldn't find anything. I actually found a bunch of comments that all that rotational direction stuff is junk, which I do not believe. I believe that there's a rotation direction on there. It's on there for a reason. Now, with this specific tire, I did find some comments. It's going to be very difficult to see, but there's on this edge and on this edge of the tire, there's like a herringbone pattern. There's two herringbone patterns. And what I read online last night was, if you think of those herringbones as almost arrows, so there's an outside and this one both pointing this way, and same thing for the next row, it's pointing that way. What I found last night, after looking at it, said, use those herringbones as sort of the directional arrows, so you want the herringbone to point in the rotation direction. I don't know whether it's true or not, so if anybody that's watching this happens to know if there's a proper rotational direction for these Vittoria Corsa TLR Control Graphene 2.0 tires, I'd love to hear about it. Just put it in the comments section. So with that said, you know, I'm gonna just follow what I found on the web last night and put them in the direction of that herringbone. Think of the two sides of the herringbone as forming almost an arrowhead. I'm gonna put that with the herringbone, you know, going in the forward direction. So in this manner with the tire, right? It's the only thing I could find. You know, like I said, I found things saying ignore it altogether. Um, I didn't find anybody that said there is a directional arrow on these tires. I certainly can't find one, and I mean I looked inside, outside, everywhere. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get these set up to put, you know, I'm going to take these tires off. Hopefully they'll hold some shape, like I said, you know, before I put them on. Being flat, I had a heck of a time trying to get them in the rim with the tube. So hopefully they've got some roundness to them, some shape to them. So I'm going to deflate these. I'm going to pop it off. I'm going to put the valve stem in, and then you know we'll get started on trying to you know get these installed tubeless and see if I can do it with a pump or see if I need my little helping guide. So give me a second to get these set up, and I'll show you you know what the next steps are. Alright, so I've got the tire ready. I've got these universal tubeless stems. So it's got, you know, the cap. It's got this ring that, you know, this is going to go on the outside of the rim to hold the stem in place. It's got the washer that's basically going to sit over the stem as it comes through the rim. Okay, and then it has this piece which is going to go into the tire. So basically you put the stem in, okay, you take your washer, so the stem's in, take your washer, put that over, okay, then you take your little ring here that's going to slide over that little washer and lock everything in place, and you want to snug it down, okay. You want to snug that down pretty good, because on the inside here, you can see with this stem, this rubber portion here, you want to get it compressed into the actual valve hole so it seals it pretty good. And then some sealant will come around there too to help. But you know, you want to get that sealed in there pretty good. So you want to get this on there, you know, fairly tight. And now we're going to go back and you know see if we can get this tire seated again on the rim, and we'll see about you know, getting it seated on the rim and seeing if we can get it started with just the pump, or if I'm going to have to use my canister that gives it a good blast. Now, when I put these tires on yesterday, oh yeah, got it fully on, okay. Hopefully this side's still seated. What I like to do is I like to go around, you know, push down and try to pull the bead out as best I can, you know, as I'm trying to get the tire situated. But I can tell you right now, this is not going to seat with just my pump. It's not getting tight enough. And I'm gonna pump like a madman, and it's not going to work. So I'll give it a shot. I'll give it about a good 20-second effort, but I can tell you, it's not going to seat. And for those that have put the tubeless tires on before, you know, you're waiting to hear that distinctive pop pop pop, which lets you know that the tire has seated on the rim properly, and the bead is really into the edge of the tire. So let's just see here. Like I said, this isn't gonna go, but let's try. Nah, it's never gonna work. It's not going. Okay, so let me get situated with my my canister here. I'll show you what I have. And we'll try to give it a blast that way. So like I said, I'll show you in a second what that canister looks like. Get it set up and see if we can get this thing seated into the rim right. So what I've got here is my air shot pump compressor type thing. So my pump just fits on the top of here. I can pump it up to 160 psi. This part here screws into where the valve stem goes. You can see I've already removed the valve stem. I got my handy dandy valve stem removal tool. Just take it out. So if you look at this tire right now, there is no Cresta stem within the valve. I don't know if you can see that. It's really hard to make sure it's in line, but this is empty. This end of the the air shot will just screw into there, so I get a good seal and it gives a good blast of air. So it takes a little effort to get this pumped up to 160 psi. So I'm going to work it now. The other thing I'll tell you is, if you can see my box down here, and I'll show you. This being round, it doesn't sit very well. So what I do is I have a box with a bunch of junk in it. I just wedge this in here so it doesn't fly all over the place. As I try to connect it to the tire. You can see I have a box of junk in there, and I put this in there and set it up so it gets a good seal. But let me work on getting it pressurized to the proper psi, and then we'll give it a shot and we'll see if it gets sealed. So hang in there while I get a little sweat going. So right now I was able to get this up to about 150 psi with my hand pump. We'll open up the switch and listen for that distinct pop, pop, pop. If we get it, tire sealed. If we don't get it, we'll try again. So here we go. Heard a little bit. Didn't hear the whole thing. So I think what we'll do now, so it's on there. I can feel there's air in the rim. So I'm going to take this part off now, and I'm going to pump it up with the hand pump. I'll put the valve core back in and connect the hand pump back up to it and see if I can get a little pop. I didn't hear that distinct pop, pop, pop. I heard a little bit, but not quite where I wanted. So let's give it a shot with the hand pump. Okay, so I happen to use, I don't, I buy all this stuff myself. I happen to use Stan's no tube sealant. The one thing I will tell you, and it tells you right in the bottle, shake it up very well before you use it. So I shook it up for a little bit. The other thing, I've been Googling, like, how much sealant do you put in a tire for a tubeless tire? No real good answer on that either. So I got this sealant kit. I put between 40 and 50 milliliters into this syringe. I put the stem like at about a 90-degree angle, as you can see here, and I just inject this into the tire. Right, just push it all the way in there. And that's that. Once it's all the way in, I'll get everything out of the syringe here. Take the syringe off. Just screws right off of there. Now hopefully most of it's settling down to the bottom of the tire. Wipe my fingers off, because you really don't want to get too much of this on the insert to the stem itself, because that'll gunk it up. You won't get good free airflow. So, again, I'll let that drain down a little bit. I'll put the core back in. Tighten it up a little bit. Just make sure it's in there snug. Once it's in there snug, I'll put the stem up top, on the top of the tire. Hopefully you see that. I've got the stem at the top of the tire, because as I'm pumping up the air, I don't want the sealant to come back into the stem itself. As well as I'm not going to pump the tire up a lot. I'm just going to get enough in there so that there's some solidness to the tire. Maybe I'll put it up to like 40 psi or something, and I'll show you why in a second. So I'll get this started here. Like I said, I'm not going to put too much pressure in it. Maybe 40 psi. Just want to have some shape to it. So I lied. I'm going to go to 50 psi. Okay, so that tire's at about 50 psi right now. So I'll close off the stem. Now these are what my buddies at my local shop taught me. So now the sealant's in there. Now you want to just rotate the sealant around. You want to get it going through the tire. Do this for, on the one side, roll it over, do it on the other side. You really want to get that sealant working around the sidewalls, especially with these tires. I've heard these sidewalls are very porous, that the first couple times you might actually see sealant coming out of these sidewalls through the casing. So what I'll do is, I'll let this bounce around a little bit, let it work its way through the tire up into the bead, everything. But then I'm going to let this sit. I'm going to let it sit for an hour or two before I pump it up more. Just want to get that sealant all worked around. Again, the better you work around the sealant now and let it settle down, the better I think the tire's going to seal as you start riding it. I'm not going to be riding these tires till tomorrow. But you know, so right now this is the front tire done. Got the sealant in there. My valve stem's good and tight. Like I said, I put about 40 to 50 milliliters of sealant in there. Roll it around, work it around. I'll do this, you know, I'll come down every once in a while and just work it around again. And that's basically how I put sealant into a tire. I don't need to bore you with doing the rear tire. So again, if anybody can tell me about the directional rotation of these Vittoria Corsa tires, you know what I just realized? I messed up. I'm gonna have to redo this tire. I did not line up the label with the tire. Oh, that's a big no-no. I was in such a rush to film this that I didn't do that. Oh well, practice makes perfect. So I'm gonna have to reseat this tire. Oh well, so much for that. But I'll do it on the back tire. At least the back tire will look right. But anyway, if anybody has any information about the rotational direction of these tires, I'd love to hear about it. Like I said, I think the Vittoria paperwork that came with them is just a standard paperwork that says, you know, put them in the right rotational direction. There's no arrows on, there's no indicators that I can find on the tire that says what the right direction is. So, you know, effectively pretty easy. Didn't take a lot. I couldn't do it by hand. Thank goodness for the air shot, you know, pressurized thing. This was like 50 bucks on eBay. Well worth it, as opposed to having to go out and buy a brand new pump and everything. So as always, you know, I hope you got something out of this. Again, if you have thoughts on the rotational direction of the tire, let me know. Hopefully you got some information out of this. If you liked the video, definitely click on a like. Again, click on that subscribe icon. Click on the bell notification icon so you know when we have new content out. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate any support you can give. And as always, this is Chris for the Old Man Cycling Show. Peace.